Thank you for choosing wisdom of the Dharma. If you found this video insightful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss a new update. Your support helps us keep sharing powerful, life-changing wisdom with the world. And don't forget to drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's grow and learn together. Why your wealth disappears in a prosperous home, the invisible burden of objects. Have you ever walked into a beautiful house, clean, spacious, well furnished, and yet something felt off? Not wrong, just heavy, as if the air itself was holding a kind of silent tension. The family living there may seem polite, successful even, but when you look closer, their smiles don't quite reach the eyes. Bills pile up. Relationships strain. Money slips away as quietly as it came. Why? What if I told you, it's not the people? It's the objects. Yes, the very things we live with every day, an old wallet, a broken light, a dusty decoration, might be draining your energy, your clarity, and your ability to attract abundance. In both Buddhist teachings and traditional Feng Shui, we are reminded of one truth. Your outer space is a mirror of your inner state. The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering, not just to people or desires, but to form. And form lives in your house. Every object in your home carries energy. Some radiate peace, abundance, and clarity. Others hold the residue of fear, stagnation, or decay. You may not notice it at first. But slowly, those objects begin to shape how you feel, how you think, how you choose. In today's video, we're going to explore 10 specific objects that act like energetic anchors, weighing down your wealth, blocking your opportunities, and clouding your spirit. Some of them might be in your home right now, unnoticed, but deeply influential. And here's the powerful part. Letting go of even one of them can shift everything. This isn't just about cleaning. This is a form of energetic liberation. A ritual. A reset. A chance to reclaim your space and your destiny. So take a breath. Let yourself be open. Because what you hear today may just be the step that turns your entire life around. And if this resonates with you already, leave a comment below. Write, I am ready to release what no longer serves me. That one intention can become the key that unlocks the door to wealth, clarity, and peace. Let's begin. Part 1, Torn Wallets. Why financial energy needs a sacred container. Imagine walking into a small cafe. You spot a man in the corner, well-dressed, sipping coffee while flipping through his phone. Next to him is a wallet, creased, frayed, with the leather peeling at the edges. It's been used for years. It holds his credit cards, IDs, maybe a picture of his family. But what it no longer holds is energy. You see, in Buddhist and Feng Shui teachings, a wallet is not just a tool. It's a container of your relationship with wealth. A torn wallet, like a cracked vessel, cannot hold water. And wealth, like water, flows toward wholeness, not toward what is broken. We often forget that money is more than a number. It's a form of energetic agreement, between giver and receiver, between effort and reward. When you use a wallet that is damaged or disrespected, even unconsciously, you're sending a message to the universe. I am not yet ready to hold prosperity. There's a monk I once met in Chiang Mai, who lived simply and humbly. But he kept his begging bowl polished, clean, whole, respected. He told me, even if I own nothing, I must keep the space for receiving sacred. Your wallet is your modern-day begging bowl. If it's cracked, filthy, or broken, so is the energy channel you're offering to the universe. I once worked with a small business owner named Lauren. She'd been struggling with cash flow for years. When we began exploring her space and habits, I noticed something curious. Her wallet was nearly falling apart. She hadn't replaced it in over a decade. I suggested a simple change: buy a new one. Not expensive. Just whole, clean, intentional. 2 weeks later, she messaged me. Sales are up. I don't know if it's the wallet or my mindset, but I finally feel like money wants to stay. That's no coincidence. That's alignment. A wallet carries more than your money, it carries your money karma. It reflects your readiness to manage, respect, and multiply the energy of abundance. So if your wallet is torn, discolored, or doesn't make you feel proud, let it go. You're not just buying a new wallet. You're resetting your energy. You're telling life, I'm ready to receive, and I will honor what flows to me. Part 2, Thorny Plants, when your home becomes a battlefield of energy. There's a subtle war happening in many homes. Not loud, not visible, but emotional, energetic. It begins with something as small as a plant. We're taught to bring greenery into our living spaces to enhance life, purify air, and promote well-being. And it's true, plants are living beings. They breathe. They grow. They carry chi. But not all plants support peace. Some, especially those with thorns, spikes, or needle-sharp edges, carry a different kind of energy. A defensive energy. An energy that guards, repels, and wounds. Think about it. The cactus. The rose. The agave. Beautiful in the wild. But what happens when you place them by your bed, or on your coffee table, or near your front door? The energy of their form, spiky, guarded, rigid, begins to speak to your subconscious. It says, be alert. Be sharp. Don't relax. Something could hurt you. In Buddhist thought, form is not separate from mind. What we see and surround ourselves with influences how we think, how we feel, and how we relate to others. A young couple once invited me to their new apartment in Ho Chi Minh City. It was modern, bright, with a beautiful balcony garden filled with ornamental cactus. They had chosen them because they were easy to care for. But after a few months, tensions rose. Arguments became frequent. They both felt irritable, tired, guarded. When we walked through their space together, I pointed to the cacti and said, "You've created a fortress of sharpness. No wonder love can't breathe." They were stunned. But they replaced the thorny plants with soft leafy greens, bamboo, peace lilies, small jade trees. And within weeks, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations softened. Sleep improved. Arguments melted into understanding. Why? Because energy flows where form allows it. In Feng Shui, the living room and bedroom are considered yin spaces, meant for emotional restoration and gentle interaction. Introducing sharp plants into those areas disrupts the harmony, slicing into the natural flow of qi like a blade through silk. Thorns don't just sit quietly. They pierce. They pierce the emotional body. They pierce conversations. They pierce the sense of safety in the home. Even if you don't consciously notice it, the energy accumulates. A sigh becomes frustration. A pause becomes silence. A glance becomes a glare. This is not superstition. It's energetic psychology. Just as we wouldn't sleep with knives under our pillow, we shouldn't place energetic weapons beside our hearts. So ask yourself, do your plants nurture peace, or sharp intention? Do they invite softness, or silently guard the door? Choose plants that reflect what you want more of: kindness, growth, healing. Let the sharp ones live outdoors, where their defensive nature belongs. Because your home isn't a battlefield. It should be a sanctuary. Part 3, Dried Flowers, Beauty that no longer breathes. There is a kind of sadness that doesn't scream. It doesn't wail or demand attention. It just lingers, like dust in a forgotten corner, or silence in a once lively room. You may find it in a vase of dried roses on a shelf, or in the crumbling petals of an artificial orchid by your window. They were once beautiful. They were once alive. But now? They are memories pretending to be life. In both Feng Shui and Buddhist philosophy, life is energy in motion. Anything that has lost its vitality no longer serves the flow. It begins to hold, stagnate, and weigh down. Dried flowers are among the most subtle culprits. They don't look dangerous. They don't smell bad. But they are beautiful corpses, quietly releasing the energy of decline. I remember visiting an elderly woman in Hanoi who had kept her wedding bouquet, dried and pressed under glass, for over 30 years. It stood in her bedroom, beside her altar. "It's sentimental," she whispered. "It reminds me of my husband." But her home felt heavy. Her sleep was restless. And she often told me she felt stuck in the past. When I gently suggested that she take a photo of the bouquet and let the physical object go, she hesitated. But she eventually agreed. And within weeks, her dreams became lighter. She started journaling again. She said, "I didn't realize how much memory can weigh. Dried flowers, faded petals, and fake blooms that have lost their color, these are frozen emotions. They symbolize beauty that is no longer breathing. And when we keep them, we unknowingly cling to what no longer nourishes us." In Buddhism, there is a teaching called anicca, impermanence. It reminds us that nothing lasts, and that's not a cause for sadness. It's a call to flow. To let go of what was. To make space for what can be. Dried flowers are beautiful in their time, yes. But once that time is past, they become a mirror for what we refuse to release. Energetically, they act like emotional anchors. They can keep us locked in memories, regrets, nostalgia, drifting in the past while life moves on without us. Feng Shui masters believe dried flowers disrupt the qi of a space. Instead of circulating, the energy becomes sluggish, like a river choked by fallen branches. You may feel it as low mood, recurring sadness, or even creative block. And while artificial flowers are more durable, when they begin to fade, fray, or discolor, they too shift from symbolizing life to symbolizing denial. Here's the lesson. Honor the beauty, but release the remains. Take a photo. Write a memory. Offer a prayer. But let the object go. Because your home deserves to breathe. Your spirit deserves to rise. And your heart deserves the lightness that only new life can bring. Part 4, Old Brooms, When Tools of Cleansing Become Traps of Neglect. Not all clutter hides in plain sight. Some of it comes disguised as something helpful. Something innocent. Something we use every week without much thought. Like an old broom. You see it leaned against a corner, bristles fraying, handle chipped, once a tool of motion, now an artifact of delay. But the truth is, in both Feng Shui and Buddhist symbolism, a broom isn't just a household object. It is a ritual instrument. It's the bridge between the visible and the invisible. A way to sweep not just dust, but energy. When used with awareness, a broom clears the residue of conflict, of illness, of sorrow. But when the broom itself becomes neglected, worn out, warped, or broken, it no longer carries that sacred power. Instead, it becomes a silent magnet for stagnation. There's a story I once heard from a monk in northern Thailand. He spoke of a temple plagued by disharmony, arguments among novices, declining donations, a general sense of unrest. They brought in a master to observe. He noticed something small. The broom by the altar had a snapped handle, and the bristles were nearly gone. The master replaced it without saying a word. And within weeks, the energy of the temple changed. Was it superstition? No. It was symbolic alignment. Because when the tool that cleans becomes dirty, when the thing meant to purify is itself broken, it spreads the very thing it was made to eliminate. It's the same in our homes. A frayed broom doesn't just fail to clean. It echoes neglect. It says, there are corners of this space we no longer care for. And energy listens. When dust is moved by a broken broom, it doesn't leave, it just settles somewhere else. And so do thoughts. And so do emotions. An old broom is like a forgotten promise to yourself. I once cared enough to clear space. But now, I've grown tired. But the Dharma teaches us that every action has potential. Even sweeping. In the Vinaya Pitaka, monks were taught to clean their living space each morning, not just for hygiene, but as a practice of mindfulness. A way to greet the day with clarity. Your broom, like your words, like your thoughts, should be clean, whole, and guided by purpose. So today, I ask, is your broom helping you move forward? Or is it just dragging the past around your feet? If it's no longer fit to serve, let it go. Replace it not out of guilt, but out of honor for your own energy. Because your space deserves renewal. Your spirit deserves movement. And your life deserves tools that carry intention, not exhaustion. Part 5, The Empty Rocking Chair, Shadows of Absence in Your Living Space. Some objects don't just fill a space, they hold stories. Among the quietest, yet most emotionally charged, is the empty rocking chair. At first glance, it seems harmless. Even charming. A wooden chair gently swaying, whispering memories of a grandmother's lullaby or quiet nights by the fire. But look deeper. In Feng Shui, and more subtly in Buddhist contemplative psychology, an empty rocking chair carries the energy of absence. It's movement without purpose. Presence without presence. A symbol of someone who was there, but is no longer. In temples, movement is intentional. Every bow, every breath, every step, done with full awareness. But a rocking chair that sways on its own, especially without anyone around, evokes a different kind of energy, unseen motion. And when motion is disconnected from consciousness, it invites spiritual confusion. I once visited a small home in the countryside of Dalat. The owner, a widower, kept his late wife's rocking chair by the window. It rocked gently, even when no one touched it. Out of love, he refused to move it. But over time, his sleep suffered. His dreams became vivid, often filled with longing and voices he couldn't place. He told me, it feels like someone's always there. But not in a comforting way. The rocking chair had become an anchor to grief. Not remembrance. Not healing. But a space that kept the spirit tethered to loss. In Buddhism, grief is acknowledged, but we are also taught the danger of attachment to form. When we turn objects into vessels for unresolved emotion, we prevent the flow of energy from completing its cycle. A chair, by nature, invites connection. It says, come sit, rest, be present. But an unused rocking chair in a living room or hallway becomes a ghost invitation, an energetic placeholder for someone who isn't there. And that space becomes a vacuum. A space where conversations don't start. Where visitors feel uneasy. Where even laughter dies quickly. This is especially true in spaces meant for interaction, living rooms, family rooms, hallways. These areas carry yang energy, active, expressive, communal. But the constant presence of a symbolic void dampens that yang, allowing stillness to fester, not peaceful stillness, but hollow, uninviting quiet. Over time, this affects mood, mental clarity, even relationships. People start to feel ungrounded, disconnected. So ask yourself, do you have a chair in your home that no one ever sits in? Does it represent comfort, or does it hold the echo of someone who left? If it is no longer used, move it to a space that reflects contemplation, a reading corner, a private study. Or let it go completely, with gratitude and respect. Because your home should reflect the living energy of now, not the lingering shadows of what used to be. Release the weight of emptiness. And choose to fill your space with presence, not just furniture. Part 6, Rusty Objects, the silent decline of surrounding energy. There are forms of decay we overlook, because they creep in slowly. Not with noise, not with violence, but with stillness, with silence. Rust is one of them. It shows up on forgotten tools, old doorknobs, discolored candle holders, quietly corroding not just the metal, but the very energy of the space it inhabits. In Feng Shui, metal carries the energy of clarity, precision, and decision-making. When metal rusts, its energy weakens. It becomes dull, indecisive, unable to transmit clean movement. But the effect is more than symbolic. From a Buddhist lens, everything external is a reflection of the internal. So rust in your home is not just rust in the material, it can reflect rust in your mind, spirit, and daily rhythm. I once consulted for a creative entrepreneur, a writer. She had a charming old study filled with vintage decor. One thing stood out, a beautiful wrought iron lamp. Rusted at the base, its joints creaky, its switch half broken. When we talked, she said, "I don't know why, but lately I've lost my motivation. I sit here, but nothing flows." I asked her, "What do you see when you look at this lamp?" She laughed. "Honestly? I see something tired. Something that used to shine." Exactly. Her lamp had become a mirror. Not of who she was, but of what she was allowing to linger. The rust was no longer on the lamp. It was in her creativity, her discipline, her confidence. This is the subtle damage of rusted objects. They carry residue energy. They speak of time passing, but not evolving, of maintenance missed, of attention lost. And the subconscious mind notices. A rusted gate whispers, "You stopped caring." A stained metal bowl says, "You haven't looked closely in a long time." And every time your eyes pass over these things, a little part of your spirit echoes that same fatigue. In Buddhist practice, we're trained in the art of noticing. To see a droplet before it becomes a flood. To sense a shift in tone before it becomes suffering. A rusty object, then, is not a failure, it's an invitation. To return. To repair. To renew. The moment you clean, polish, or replace that item, you're not just restoring appearance. You're resetting attention. You're saying, "I see this. I honor this. I'm awake again." So ask yourself, what in your home used to shine, but has since dulled? What object have you stopped seeing, even though it's still speaking to your space? You don't need to throw everything away. Sometimes, cleansing is enough. Other times, replacement becomes a ritual of respect for the energy you want to live with. Because you deserve a space that reflects movement, not corrosion. Vitality, not erosion. Let rust be your teacher, not your atmosphere. Part 7, Broken Lights, How Dimness Shapes Confusion and Blocks Insight. There's something sacred about light. It fills a room. It opens our eyes. It reveals what's hidden. In nearly every spiritual tradition, from the Dharma halls of Buddhism to the altars of ancient temples, light is used as a symbol of wisdom, clarity, and hope. But what happens when that light begins to fail? A flickering bulb in the hallway. A desk lamp that only works if you twist the cord just right. A dim chandelier casting long shadows where brightness should live. It may seem minor, an inconvenience at best. But subtle energy responds to subtle signals. In Feng Shui, light is one of the primary carriers of Yang Qi, the active, clear, forward-moving force of life. When lights begin to malfunction, they interrupt that current. They create a space of uncertainty. And when your outer world becomes dim, your inner clarity starts to fade too. I once spoke with a middle-aged teacher who had been struggling with decision fatigue. Small tasks overwhelmed her, big life choices felt foggy. She told me, "My brain just feels dim." When I visited her apartment, it was quiet, cozy. But her main ceiling light had been broken for months, so she relied on 2 low table lamps. The space felt sleepy, unclear, even though it was clean. "Why haven't you fixed the light?" I asked. She smiled, "I've just gotten used to the mood." That was the key. She had adapted to dimness. And her mind had followed. In Buddhist philosophy, this is called moha, delusion or mental dullness. It isn't always dramatic. Often, it creeps in slowly, like dusk swallowing daylight. Dim lighting is one of the most overlooked contributors to emotional inertia. You feel uninspired. Procrastination increases. Confidence fades. You hesitate to act, because part of you cannot see clearly. Even worse, flickering or broken lights can mimic instability in your subconscious. One moment it's bright, the next it's not, mirroring doubt, indecision, inner contradiction. This is especially dangerous in workspaces, bedrooms, and meditation corners. Where you focus, light must be strong and steady. Not overly harsh, not artificial, but clean, alive, present. In temples, lamps are refilled daily. Not just as maintenance, but as mindfulness practice. To keep the flame of wisdom lit. To never let the light of presence go out. So look around your home. Is there a corner shrouded in dimness? A hallway you avoid because the bulb hasn't worked in months? A lamp you never turn on because it no longer feels right? Don't ignore it. Replace it. Repair it. Rekindle it. Because every time you restore light, you send a message to the universe, and to yourself. I choose clarity. I honor insight. I am ready to move forward. In the Dharma, even a single candle dispels darkness. So imagine what your whole home could become. When nothing flickers, and everything shines. Part 8, Sad Artwork, Emotional Imprints Hiding in Your Walls. Walls remember things. Not through memory as we know it, but through energy. What you place on your walls, artwork, photographs, symbols, creates a silent emotional field. And over time, that field begins to speak. It whispers into your thoughts. It shapes your moods. It becomes the emotional wallpaper of your inner life. In Feng Shui, images carry frequency. A picture of a joyful family creates harmony. A blooming lotus spreads peace. But a painting of isolation, sorrow, or darkness? That energy becomes embedded in the room. I remember walking into a client's home, a talented therapist who struggled with burnout and frequent emotional fatigue. Her living room was tastefully decorated, but one painting drew me in. It showed a lone woman sitting in the rain. No umbrella. No shelter. Her head bowed, the sky gray. "It's one of my favorites," the therapist said. "I bought it after a hard breakup." I nodded. "And how do you feel when you look at it now?" She paused. "Like I never really healed." There it was. What we keep in our line of sight, we internalize. And the mind, especially the subconscious, doesn't distinguish between metaphor and reality. A sorrowful image doesn't stay on the canvas. It leaks. It seeps into the space, into your routine, into your nervous system. Over time, you begin to feel what the image represents, even if your life no longer matches it. In Buddhist meditation, visual focus is sacred. Statues, mandalas, thankas, they are placed intentionally to support clarity and open the heart. Because the mind becomes what it gazes upon. That is why sad, lonely, or dark imagery should be approached with caution in the home. They may be beautiful. They may be art. But if their emotional tone is sorrow, they attract more of the same. I'm not suggesting that every image must be cheerful or pastel. But it should uplift. It should breathe space into your spirit, not compress it. Art has power. It's a form of emotional spell casting. So ask yourself, what story are the images on your walls telling? Are they reminding you of what you've lost, or what you're becoming? Do they reflect a spirit of healing, or a state of unresolved pain? If there's a picture you've kept because it was expensive or because it meant something once, and yet every time you look at it, your energy drops, trust that. Your body knows. Your heart knows. Let the artwork go. Or move it to a private space for processing, rather than daily exposure. Replace it with something that breathes life. Something open. Natural. Alive. A forest kissed by light. A laughing child. A simple brushstroke of color that makes your chest rise, not tighten. Because your walls are not just decoration. They are your mirrors. And every mirror deserves a reflection that brings you home to yourself. Part 9, Old Pillows, where rest fails and energy leaks. We often think of sleep as the pause in our lives, a necessary reset, nothing more. But in both Feng Shui and Buddhist thought, sleep is not a pause. It is a bridge. A sacred passage between days. A time when the body restores, and the spirit journeys inward. And at the very heart of that passage lies your pillow. It's where your head rests for a third of your life. Where dreams begin, and burdens are released. Or at least, that's what it's meant to be. But what happens when your pillow is no longer a place of peace? A pillow that is old, flat, or stained holds more than wear, it holds residue. Residual energy from anxious nights. Sweat from stressed mornings. Tension that never fully let go. In Feng Shui, the bedroom is your temple of rejuvenation. And the pillow is the crown altar, supporting your mind, your breath, your unconscious thoughts. If that support collapses, so do your clarity, decision-making, and emotional resilience. I once guided a retreat participant who had persistent headaches, brain fog, and chronic restlessness. He drank less coffee. Tried meditation. Changed his routine. Nothing helped, until he mentioned that he hadn't changed his pillow in over 6 years. It's comfortable, he said. I'm used to it. Yes. But we can get used to discomfort too. We replaced his pillow with a fresh, breathable, firm one. And within a week, his sleep deepened. His headaches disappeared. He smiled more often. It wasn't magic. It was energetic hygiene. In Buddhist monasteries, bedding is treated with reverence. Each morning, it's folded mindfully. Each week, refreshed. Not out of luxury, but out of discipline. Because the way you end your day becomes the tone of the next one. An old pillow speaks a subtle message. You are not supported. You deserve just enough comfort to survive, not thrive. Let's carry yesterday's energy into today. But what if you chose a different message? What if your pillow said, you are safe now. You are held. It's time to rest, deeply. That change doesn't require wealth. It doesn't even require a fancy mattress. It begins with awareness. With the courage to say, "This object touches my body every night, it should honor me." Ask yourself, when was the last time your pillow truly felt like a soft invitation into rest? When did you last lie down and feel your entire body sigh? If it's been too long, don't wait. Replace it. Bless it. Treat it as the sacred item it is. Because true wealth isn't found only in waking hours. It's nourished in the quiet surrender of sleep. And the right pillow becomes your unseen ally, whispering healing into the night. Part 10. Stopped clocks. When time freezes, so does your life. Time never truly stops. It flows, like a river, like breath, like karma. And yet, in some homes, time does stop. Or at least, that's the message quietly pulsing from a broken object on the wall, a clock, whose hands no longer move. At first, it seems trivial. Just a battery issue. An old piece with sentimental value. Maybe even a decoration you barely notice anymore. But in Feng Shui, a stopped clock is never just an object. It is a signal. A symbolic freeze in the rhythm of life. And in Buddhist thought, the illusion of control over time is one of the deepest sources of suffering. Time is motion. Time is change. Time is impermanence. When a clock stops, we're not just looking at a mechanical failure, we're staring at a metaphor for stuckness. I once visited a client, an ambitious woman running a startup. Her business had stalled. Her relationships felt stale. When we walked through her home, she had not one, but 3 clocks that no longer worked. "I guess I stopped caring," she said. "But I kind of like them, they remind me of calmer times." That was the issue. The clocks were her shrines to the past. Beautiful, yes. But frozen. Lifeless. Out of sync. And so was her energy. A stopped clock whispers. This is where everything ended. Nothing has moved since. The future can wait. And so, the chi in your home, the subtle energy that governs clarity, opportunity, and action, stalls. Not because you failed, but because the space no longer reflects flow. In Buddhist monasteries, time is treated with reverence. Gongs ring at exact moments. Walking meditation follows the breath. The present is not a moment, it is the only home of awakening. A working clock supports that rhythm. A broken one interrupts it. Worse, it confuses your subconscious. Every time you glance at it and see the same hour, your brain receives a false message. Nothing has changed. We're still here. Why bother? That creates fatigue, disinterest, quiet despair. Even if your calendar moves forward, your inner life feels paused. But here's the truth. You're not paused. You're evolving. You're meant to move forward. So let your environment reflect that truth. Fix the clock. Or let it go. Choose symbols that support your growth, not trap you in nostalgia. Time is not the enemy. Stagnation is. And the moment you reset even one small object, like a wall clock, you send a ripple through your energy field. You say, I'm ready to begin again. I honor the present. I step forward. Because when the hands move, so does the heart. So does opportunity. So does life. Conclusion, a space for awakening. What your home is trying to teach you. We often think transformation begins with big moves. Changing careers. Ending relationships. Moving across oceans. But what if the greatest shifts begin in the quietest places? In the forgotten drawer. The dusty corner. The object we walk past every day, never knowing it holds part of our past, our pattern, or our pain. Your home is not just where you live. It is a mirror of your consciousness. It is a reflection of how awake, or how distracted, you truly are. In Buddhist tradition, even sweeping the floor is a path to awakening. A monk bends down not just to clean, but to return to presence. To notice. To honor space as sacred. What if we brought that same presence to our homes? The wallet you haven't replaced. The thorny plant by the door. The clock whose hands no longer move. They are not just items. They are teachers. They speak of how we hold money, how we guard ourselves, how we relate to time. They reveal our fears, our hesitations, our hidden hopes. And when we choose to release them, intentionally, consciously, we do more than organize. We liberate. Because every object you keep has a vibration. Every shape, every texture, every memory, it either supports your path, or slows your spirit. And in this world, where energy is precious and attention is rare, we must learn to protect our inner space by tending to our outer space. Letting go is not loss. It is invitation. When you release what no longer resonates, you create room for something new. New clarity. New prosperity. New peace. So as this video ends, I invite you, gently, without judgment, to walk through your space. Don't look with the eyes of habit. Look with the eyes of Dharma. Ask, does this item lift me or lower me? Does this reflect who I was, or who I am becoming? Is this helping me grow, or asking me to stay small? Then, piece by piece, shift the energy. Replace the pillow. Fix the light. Let the sad artwork go. Breathe new life into your space, and watch how life begins to respond. Because energy is not neutral. And your home is not silent. It speaks. The question is, are you listening? Let your space become a temple. Let your life become lighter. Let each object around you whisper, you are awake now. You are ready. This is your time. If this message resonated with you, let your voice join the current. Leave a comment below, just one line, I choose to create space for peace and abundance. That small declaration may just be the first ripple in a wave of change. Because you are not stuck. You are shifting. And every shift begins with a single, conscious step. From all of us at Wisdom of the Dharma, may your home become your sanctuary. May your space become your mirror. And may your next chapter begin with light. We'll see you in the next video.